The object of a trade is to not only get your team to a better place than they were before, but not to lose anything with the players or picks that you gave away. Just like a draft, it can take years to realize the winners and losers. And that's why this week's Top 5 is the Top 5 Trades in Eagles history. Coming in at number 5, a left tackle who went from undrafted to All-Pro, Jason Peters.
They fleeced the Buffalo Bills. Give them 28th overall pick in that 2009 draft. I believe a 4th rounder as well, a conditional 2010 pick as well. Come on, Jason Peters. Is there a better offensive lineman in the game right now? Jason Peters, as far as I'm concerned, when you watch a Monday Night Football game or a Sunday Night Football game, and you're watching it in detail and you're listening to Chris Collinsworth call a game, you'll hear Jason Peters' name called a lot, and it's not because of penalties.
Coming in at number 4, a linebacker who helped change the culture of the team, Bill Bergey.
I mean, Bill Bergey comes over here in a time when it was pretty dark, and Bill Bergey helps usher in the Dick Vermeil era. But Bill Bergey was an absolute tackling machine. And Bill Bergey was an edge guy. Bill Bergey had a lot of those traits that you need in your middle linebacker. Smart, leader, tough, and that team really fed off him. You talk to the guys from the 1980 defense, and they'll tell you there's no question who our leader was. It was Bill Bergey.
Coming in at number 3, a quarterback who was known for his resilience and toughness, Ron Jaworski.
He's kind of languishing in LA, and the Eagles make a great move to get him over here. And what he did was, he sort of brought that team. He was the coach on the field for Dick Vermeil, and he took a lot of heat in the process. He took a lot of heat from the press and from the fans. But Jaworski was tough. And you talk about an arm, there's a reason they called him a Polish rifle. He had a cannon.
Ron Jaworski is a guy from Youngstown, Ohio. And so when the Eagles made the trade, I remember being a young kid that it wasn't one of those real heralded, wow, we got Ron Jaworski from the Rams. But Ron Jaworski came in here and was a tough guy and went out there and played hard, and the fans fell in love with him.
I loved Jaws. I loved watching Jaws. And to my left was my father, who was a manic Philadelphia Eagles fan, and he would yell at the screen at Ron Jaworski. And I would always stick up for Jaws, no matter what. I always knew Jaws' stats and his numbers and why he should play and why he shouldn't be benched. I can't see Jaws as a guy that played for any other team.
For them to land him in a trade, and ultimately, who was the other guy in that trade? Nobody even knows. You know who Ron Jaworski is, that's for sure.
Coming in at number 2, another quarterback who led the team to the 1960 championship, Norm Van Brocklin.
Van Brocklin had played a long time in Los Angeles. He was a veteran. And he'd been part of 2 championship teams out there. And was considered one of the best quarterbacks in football. Everybody knew that. But he had always split the job. I mean, it seems crazy in today's NFL, you'd never have this where you'd have a great quarterback sharing time with other quarterbacks, but that he did in Los Angeles. So he told the coach, just trade me, okay? But don't trade me to Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. Those are the only 2 places I'm not going. Well, he traded him to Philadelphia. And he actually threatened to retire. He actually threatened to retire rather than report to Philadelphia because the Eagles were a bad team at that time. And Bert Bell, who was then the commissioner of the NFL, who was the original owner of the Eagles, convinced Van Brocklin, no, come to Philadelphia, it'll be okay. They got a good coach in Buck Shaw. You can come there and help build this team back into a winner. The 1960 team would not have won a championship if it weren't for Norm Van Brocklin.
And taking the top spot this week, a wide receiver whose stay in Philadelphia was short but entertaining, Terrell Owens.
First and foremost, Terrell Owens. The fact that you were able to get him in a trade for basically nothing, and then you go on that whirlwind of a 2004 season, absolutely phenomenal trade.
And I'll never forget reporting on that story. I was in Florida at the time, and I was doing a hit at spring training, and then the trade happened. To me, I think it represented that they see that they're close, and this is the move that's going to kind of get them over the top.
He was Megatron for that year. When you look at the wide receivers in the NFL, he was the best receiver in the NFL that year. When T.O. was on the field, you just threw it like Megatron. You just threw it, and he caught it. And when he went down, and we lost those games, and yet he came back, to me, he's always golden. Even though all you ever heard about was that he was a head case, I don't know. He loved to win for the Eagles.
So there you have it, your top 5 trades of all time. Let us know what you think on Twitter using @EaglesShows, #EaglesTop5.